Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Building Your Iconic Life. I'm here with Dustin Johnson, and everybody stay tuned. This one is going to be great.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands.
Welcome to Build an Iconic Life podcast. I'm your host, Chris Whitehead, and this podcast is dedicated to help you build a life with zero regrets by focusing on how you have everything you need to stand up, stand out, and live life on your terms. Let's dive right in.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm grateful to be on here. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here, man. You're one of these guys, man, that every time we get together, it's never a short conversation. So, we've been in the kind of the back studio for a half hour just sharing life, man.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I appreciate about you so much. You have a book. It's a number one best-selling book. What's the name of it?
Strength Through Struggle.
Everybody, I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't have the perfect grammar in it. It is so if you're a grammar Nazi, you won't like this book, but you want to read a story about a man that's been through the real struggles of life and is vulnerable enough to share them, the lessons that he's learned. And it doesn't have the fairy tale ending at the end of it. Yeah. What it has is someone who's committed to life.
Yeah.
And it was probably one of the, and bro, I've read over 100 books so far this year. It is in the top 3 books that I've read. Your book. I was going through 75 hard when I was reading it. So I was getting, and dude, I was kind of sad when it was done because the way you talk is as if we're having a conversation in the book. It's actually who you really are.
Yeah. And that was a big part of it.
I think that there are a lot of lessons that people can learn from it. So we're going to put that link on here for everyone to check out. But for $10, it was literally one of the best reads I've had this year. I appreciate you taking the time to read it or write it, man.
Dang, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was the biggest thing is I knew the editor, Catherine, like for years before, and me and her have been working together. And all she said when I was done is she said, give me your book. Nobody else can touch it. Nobody else can do it. I have to do your book. I said, okay, here it is. And she said, I gave it to my people. And all I said, whatever you do, don't take Dustin out of it. I need his words. I need his slang. I need his everything. And she killed it, man. It's perfect. I'm in the book. It's not.
Dude, when I was reading it, I literally heard your voice in my head.
Yeah.
Because it's you. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, dude, I read so many books and I help so many people, author and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, it does take the person out of it. But when I was reading your book, it literally was like I was having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Sitting around a campfire on a stump. And you're like, dude, let me tell you this story.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one hell of a journey, man. So like, tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you've been going through, and if you're interested, what you're going to be doing here in the near future.
Yeah, man. So originally, honestly, just over a decade ago, I was checking into a treatment center. I was taking 6,000 milligrams of prescription pain pills a day. And my life was upside down. My wife had just had a hysterectomy. We were only married like 3 years. She was 5 surgeries deep into a disease called endometriosis, which ultimately ended in a hysterectomy in 2012. Along her journey of the pain and the suffering and struggle of the disease, I got addicted to her prescription pain pills that she was getting to take care of her. And then from there, it just kind of fueled out of control. The next thing I know, I'm a president of a motorcycle group. We're running 100 miles an hour, and drugs and alcohol and food and cigarettes and caffeine are all I'm living off of. I don't even think I had blood at the time. It was literally just horrible stuff in my skin. But I came into a point where I knew I was in trouble. I had some run-ins with some situations and things that I was facing some prison time had I got busted the one night about 3 a.m. and God willing, man, he kept me out of trouble. I never got pulled over, which I should have. And about a month and a half later, I ran out of pills and I ran out of energy. I was tired of running, man. We've been going about 3 years nonstop, and I was just exhausted. And I looked at my wife on Friday evening and I said, look, I've been writhing around on the floor, freezing hot, throwing up, all kinds of stuff from detoxing from these pills. And I said, look, I'm either going to go rob the fucking pharmacy or I need to go get help. And she said, well, baby, I guess it's time to go get help. So from there, I immediately got on the phone. I was working for the railroad at the time. I called the EAP, Employee Assistance Program, and that dude said, when do you want to go? Next week, next year, next month? I said, dude, I needed to be there yesterday. And 48 hours later, I was on a plane on my way to Knoxville, Tennessee, where I spent 34 days at a treatment center, getting cleaned up a little bit from a nasty lifestyle. But yeah, from there, that was where my fitness journey started. I was in debt. My marriage was a wreck. I had no money. I was fat, dude. You've seen the pictures of me with my crazy hair. Like, I was 260 pounds, smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. I smoked so many cigarettes, I used to have to use Clorox wipes to get the gold off of my fingers. And when I got home, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what my choices were. I know I needed to straighten my life out. And I literally started doing exercises in my garage because I could do push-ups for free. And that's humbling. I didn't have no equipment. I said, man, I can do this if I don't even have shoes. I can do squats. If the government takes everything from me, if I lose everything, I can do squats in the dirt with no shoes on if I have to. And so that was where it started, man. From there, like push-ups, squats, we started watching some Tony Horton videos. And one key thing that I want to point out is, like, my wife was with me in the motorcycle stuff. My wife was with me, I was with her through all the medical stuff. And from there, it was like, we've been ride or die since then. And so we started this fitness journey together. It was like, put less cheese on our food, eat less, Pizza Hut. And it literally, like, all I drank back then was soda and smoked cigarette. And it's like, I just started making little changes one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time. We started going to AA together and working on our relationship, working on paying bills down. And for 6 or 7 years, like, that's all it was. Just freaking trying to get our heads on straight and figure our lives out together, working on ourselves together.
What kept you going for 6 or 7 years? Not many people remain that committed through a process of evolution for 6 or 7 years. What kept y'all moving forward?
Growth. It was that daily, like, that you could see, like, obviously I went from 260. Heck, I went all the way down to 199 pounds. I stopped drinking soda pop altogether. I stopped smoking cigarettes altogether. I don't do any nicotine now. My wife doesn't do any nicotine now, but it was that, like, we were paying our bills down slowly. We were getting out of debt. We were slowly learning about each other. Because when I traveled for the railroad, I was gone 6 days a week. I would only be home for 24 or 30 hours. So it was like, almost like we got a whole opportunity to restart and relearn about each other, grow with each other, and go through it together. And so it was just the constant growth in each other. And I think everybody sees that now. Like, there's not a lot of people like Tonya and I that, like, it's every day, it's day in, day out. We're looking to be our best selves, for myself, for my wife, and for God. Like, that's it. Let's go. And people say, like, man, you guys don't ever stop. You're doing this challenge, or you're doing that challenge, or you're going here, or you're going there. And it's like, I want, when I die, man, I want people to say that dude never quit, and they always push to be their best selves.
It's funny. I got a question for you, but before I ask, people, we've had some success in business and life and whatnot. And, people say you must be proud. And Dustin, what I tell them is the only thing I'm proud of is that I've never quit.
Yeah.
It's literally like, I'm not the smartest. That is for sure. I'm not the best looking. but I was just willing. Like, and that's a God thing, man. That's not a Chris thing, because Chris on his own would have quit.
Yeah, for sure. Let me jump in on that, because I think that doesn't ever get defined well enough. So what does don't quit mean? Like, to me, man, if you're struggling and you can't make it and you have to go get a job, that doesn't mean you quit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But so many people think like, hey, I'm doing this right now and it's not working out, but I just got to keep going. And it's like, no, that's not the quit we're talking about. It's the quit inside of your heart. When you become hopeless, that's when people quit. And usually that's when suicide, drugs,
Right,
pornography,
right.
all these things, it no longer is fun. It now becomes, I have to. And that's when we find ourselves have quit. I got chills, boy.
Me too, man.
That's when we find ourselves to have quit. It doesn't mean you can't quit your job. It doesn't mean you can't quit hanging out with these people. It doesn't mean that you can't quit what you're working on. It means you can't quit in your spirit, man. You can't quit in your heart.
Bro, in 2009, I shut my business down in Virginia because we had a recession going on, and I moved to New Hampshire, and I got a job for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. And the pandemic hit just a couple years ago. And I remember Robin getting really scared because in the remodeling company, what do we do? What do we do? And I said, baby, if I have to go get a job at McDonald's, I'll get a job at McDonald's. Yeah. We're going to be okay. It's one of the beautiful things about living in America, as opposed to other countries. You're not going to get put in jail. If you can't pay your bills for a little bit, yeah, they'll take the stuff away from you that you don't own for sure. But there's always opportunity here, and I'm willing. And so you're absolutely right. The thing that I'm proud about not quitting on is me.
Yeah.
I haven't quit on me, my dream. And whether I ever realize my dream or not is not even the important thing. It's actually the journey along the way. And as that started to happen, and this is getting back to the question that I wanted to ask you, as that started to happen, what I saw is my heart became more interested in the people that were in my life than the things that were in my life, because that's what was making my life rich. To be able to, sit down, you and I sat down at a bar. I think I was eating a hamburger, drinking some water, and just having a conversation about life when I was on a speaking gig down in Dallas one day. That was way more meaningful to me than making, $10,000 to go speak on somebody's stage.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I met Robin and she came into my life and I saw the level of integrity she's willing to bring a relationship, and I had to rise to that. I'm glad I didn't quit on me, because I would have quit on her in the past. And that was to lead me to the question I was going to ask you. There was apparently a come to Jesus moment with you and Tonya where y'all had to have a serious conversation, I'm sure. And it probably wasn't that pretty.
Man, I got to be honest with you. We weren't even smart enough to know we needed to have a conversation. For some reason, it was like we looked each other in the eye and we knew that we had work to do, and we put our freaking heads down and we got to work.
How unique is that? Instead of eating away at each other, you both were broken enough and realized it with no ego and just said, okay, let's go.
Yeah. And that's why I mean by ride or die, man. I've been to the depths of hell. And like I said, I think the conversation, it was probably like, baby, I'm either going, and she knew, like at that point, I was a double gun slinger. I had a gun in my boot and one on my hip at the time of my life, right? When I said, I'll go rob the fucking pharmacy, she said, it's time to go get help. And I think that was that, like, we need to do something different right now, because like we're headed to death or prison or divorce. Like that was the only way we were going.
All right. So tell everybody, so you go and you get this straight, you start to get your finances straight. And I know the story, but what was the next most unique thing that you and Tonya did that probably is what maybe 1% of the world would even attempt to do?
Yeah. So 2017, we looked at each other. Tonya's dog had passed away late 2016. We looked at each other and said, we don't have kids. We can't have biological kids. Our dogs are gone. I travel for the railroad and you would like to travel more. So how about we sell all of our stuff and you just travel with me for the railroad? So we got down to 6 totes, the plastic totes with the yellow lids. We got down to 6 totes worth of stuff. And all of 2018 and all of 2019, Tonya and I traveled all over the country with the railroad from motel to motel. And halfway through 2019, while we were out and about, we decided, hey, maybe we should like build our own little house while we're out here doing this. And that was when we bought a bus, and me and Tonya converted an old school bus into a luxury RV. And in December of 2019, right before 2020, I left the railroad permanently, and my wife and I moved into the school bus and traveled around the country on our own.
Okay, and what were you doing traveling around on the school bus?
So we've done nutrition and fitness online, but literally like 2018, we were in 25 different states. We were in like 18 national parks, man. Like we were just doing it up, seeing it up. We didn't say no to anything, and we just tried stuff, man. But ultimately, what we did was we learned how to live in 100 square feet as wife and husband, and we learned how to deal with our stuff as wife and husband, and we learned about each other. It's easy to say, but put yourself in 100 square feet, because that's all the more the bus is, and then get into an argument or have a disagreement, and there is no like, hey, you go to the basement and I'll go out back. Like, nope, here we are, 100 square feet.
And there's only one bed in that thing.
Yeah, so here we are. Let's talk about it. Let's be about it. Let's work through it. And I think that's what a lot of people see now is like, man, you guys are so strong. And it's like, man, we've been through so much together. There's no one I would rather fight with, man. There's no one I'd rather have on my side.
What so apparently you stopped doing the tour bus for a while.
Yeah, the coronavirus hit, man. Who would have seen that coming?
No joke, dude. So, but that must have hit while you were on the bus.
Oh yeah, we was full-fledged 5.5 months into living in the bus.
So tell us about like what was that like with the pandemic going on and you're on a bus?
Insane. So we were in California actually working on another school bus for a friend of ours, and we were in an area that had no cell phone reception. And so I had heard like before we went up, we were out for like 8 days with no reception, and I had heard like there was a sickness coming or whatever. But I don't pay attention to the news. I don't watch TV. I don't do any of that. So it wasn't like something crazy was happening. Well, Tonya went into town with a friend of ours to get groceries on Wednesday. On Sunday, which would have been 8 days from the time I had been in service, the coronavirus had hit. And so when we left the mountain, I'm driving down the mountain and we're starting to get service. I pull into the grocery store and it's wiped out. We're in California. We have no food. We have no water. Our propane literally ran out that morning, and we don't have anything. And we're out of diesel fuel. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but everybody's saying COVID's here. And all I knew in my heart was I need to get out of the state of California. I said, before they start locking borders, before they start doing I need to get out of the state of California. So me and Tonya went into this grocery store, and because people don't know how to eat healthy, we were able to get all kinds of food. But like the Doritos were gone, and Dr. Pepper was gone, and Miller Lite was gone, but there was all kinds of canned soups, vegetable, like all this stuff. So I literally bought like $600 worth of groceries, so that because I didn't know what was happening, I just knew I needed to get out of town. Loaded up with diesel fuel, loaded up with propane, loaded up with water, and I booked for Nevada state line. We got to Nevada in the BLM, and I just parked. And at that point, when we parked in Nevada, they said, everybody that's non-essential, you can't be on the road. You need to social distance. And I was like, baby, this bus is made for social distancing. Like we're in the desert. It's March or April. It's cool. We're good. We have nothing to worry about. We got all the food we need, all the water we need, and we will social distance away from everybody. And so it was getting crazy, and they were shutting the lights of Vegas off. We were actually right outside of Vegas when the casino lights were no longer, like there was no light pollution in Vegas anymore, which was wild to see. And the next morning we decided to go to Utah. I had some friends in Utah. I was actually going to go get a tattoo in Utah. And so we drove through Arizona and into Utah on a Sunday. And on Monday morning, the state of Arizona texted us and said, you can no longer cross into the Arizona border, 14-day quarantine. Vegas, Nevada went to a 14-day quarantine, and Utah put out a radio thing that said anybody coming into the state from today moving forward, you had to tell the government why you were there, what you were doing, how long you planned to be there, where you were staying at, and all this stuff. And Tonya and I had somehow passed by all
Dude,
this
it's
stuff.
like a tsunami is behind you. The wave is like 100 feet in the air, and your little van is just going.
Yeah. So we got
Holy
into
crap.
Utah and didn't have to do any of all the stuff that was happening. And so, but I got nervous because then they closed down Zion National Park, which is the most traveled national park in the, I know it's in the country, but possibly the world. Like 23 million people a year go to Zion National Park, which was in Utah, and they were closing them all down. And I'm like, man, borders are getting weird. Like, we need to stop. This is getting too much. So we stopped, and helped a friend with a small apparel company get picked up off the ground and take off. We helped him for about a year, doing apparel while the virus was doing whatever it was doing and going wherever it was going to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in a bike gang going 100 miles an hour, couple guns, getting fucked up all the time, get my shit together. My wife decides she's willing to travel with me, which is nobody does that while you work all the time, to now living not in hotels, but in a bus that you made, freer than you've ever been in your life, probably in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And then this, dude, it's like a movie.
Yeah.
It's like a freaking movie.
Yeah. By then we were down to 4 totes worth of shit because we didn't need what was in the other 2 totes.
And so, and where are you now?
I'm in Frisco, Texas.
All right. So you made your way to Texas. I guess you had friends down there. You had network down there, stuff like that. What's the last year been like for you?
I helped a friend build a gym, and we've been very successful there. We were very successful in Utah with the apparel company. Moved down to Frisco. In between there, we sort of went on like a 6-month bus tour, doing fitness and nutrition all across the country in the bus. And now I find myself here helping a friend at a gym, but our lease is coming to an end and we're about to jump in the bus again.
You really are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm literally like probably today I'll throw the chair away that I'm sitting in.
Okay. So that was interesting when I was reading that in your book. Let's talk about that since you're going through it again.
Yeah.
You went from like you were renting a house.
Yeah.
Had a garage in that house.
Yeah, that was our house. We had bought that house. 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. Dude, I had a full gym. Like, and when I say full gym, I mean like full gym. And you know me now, like I'm a very fit type of person. Full gym, dude. I had a S10. We were building into a hot rod. I mean, I had the toolbox that was this big by this big. I'm literally looking at my tool bag now. It's this big by this big. Like, when I say downsize, I mean downsize. And I don't mean like storage units and stuff like that. No. We've gotten rid of everything.
So number one, was that a kind of a weird or possibly painful process? Like before you, like now that's going to be easier, but the first time you did it, was it like, what the hell are we doing? Because
I ask my wife that every day.
Huh?
I ask my wife that every day. What in the hell are we doing?
But like, dude, in America, everything's about accumulation of stuff.
And we had done that.
And so to downsize, it probably feels like you're ripping parts of you away a little bit. Like there's an emotional attachment to that.
Some stuff, it's also the most freeing thing ever. It's the most freeing thing ever because all that stuff causes anxiety that you don't even know about. Especially like at one time, dude, I'll just be honest. I had 5 motorcycles, 4 vehicles, 2 riding lawnmowers, like 6 lowrider bicycles that I built. I had shop signs, beer signs, I had a Cadillac couch. I had an old fuel, like I had it all, right? I had all this stuff, but I was still empty inside, just like I had all the drugs, but I was still empty inside. And it wasn't until like I got down to absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing. Like my wife didn't have a hair dryer or anything for 2 years. Like we got down to 4 totes. That's like ski gear, swimwear, exercise equipment, like the 4 totes worth of stuff total. That's all we owned. And that was when I found out, number one, what we're made of. I'll put my wife and I up against anybody. We've taken some trips that not only trips like ayahuasca trips, but like hiking trips where it was 50 miles in 4 days. Like you had to carry all your food. And so the reason being that we sold all our stuff was to have more experiences. And we talk all the time about prayer, and people say like, oh, I want to pray for wisdom. And then in 6 months, they're like, hey, I prayed for wisdom, but I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, God walked me through all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, well, I went through this, and then I got fired from my job, and I lost my cell phone, and it cost me 30 grand. And it's like, perfect, man. You prayed for wisdom. And that's exactly, when you look up wisdom in the dictionary, the first example is to have experiences. So in order to get wisdom, you have to go through stuff. You have to experience stuff. And so what the bus has been for us, what downsizing has been for us, what marriage has been for us is experiences. And I don't know, man, but I'm bald. Like they say in the Bible that gray hair is wisdom. I feel like baldness is wisdom. I ain't got no hair.
Well, you got a pretty dome. Mine looks like an egg, so I'm going to keep mine and hope that it turns gray.
Yeah.
And hopefully get some wisdom in the process. But you speak truthfully. People ask for patience all the time, man. You be careful asking for that one. What you mean is you want peace.
Yeah. And even what you said, like, be careful asking for that. And I totally agree. Cause sometimes, man, you open up a can of worms that almost wish that it didn't happen. But
eyes wide open.
Those exact things are exactly what you do need to take you where God's trying to take you, to create you into what he's trying to create you to. So if you never did like have this weird hair, like, you know what, I should haul off and pray for some wisdom today. And then all of a sudden for the next 6 months, you get patience or wisdom or any of the more difficult ones. But if you didn't go through that, you would never become what he made you to be anyway.
Well, it goes right back to, when people ask me, you must be so proud. And I say, I'm proud. I've never quit. When I was 22, dude, I bent a knee in a parking lot after accepting Christ into my life. And I came out of the pavilion and I bent down by my car, and I wrote this in my book. And I said, I know I'm making an emotional decision right now. And that means I know I'm going to let go of you, but will you please just never let go of me?
Yeah.
And bro, I'm not attached to the success we have. Now, I want my family. I want my children. I want my wife to live a certain way without having to, scrape all the dirt from their fingernails all the time. Yeah. I want to make sure that food's there for them and everything. But as far as I'm personally concerned, bro, I know I'm going to die. Yeah. I'm actually not afraid of it on any level.
Right.
I'm here to be in service, man. I'm here to love on people, and I'm here to have these experiences. And so that's my treasure. We were talking about that earlier. I'm accumulating the kinds of people around me that I resonate with that make my life rich.
Yeah.
And you and Tonya are doing the same thing. You downsized once. I imagine this time you didn't have to downsize. You're not going to have to downsize nearly as much as you did the time before, right?
Man, every time gets less and less because you find, it seems weird, man, but you find what you actually need, and what you need actually becomes what you actually want, because everything else is a distraction, or you're just dragging around stuff that you got to move it. When you have 100 square feet, like, everything has to have a place, has to have a purpose, has to be in a. So if you have stuff that you don't need, you now get to like move this out of the way, shuffle this over here, throw this over there. Like, babe, we haven't used this in 6 months. Like, are we ever going to use it? No, throw it away. Okay. Like, so you get way more understanding of what you actually need. And when you get that small, when you get down to where like you don't have extra wall space and extra drawers and all this stuff, you realize that what you need becomes what you want. Because if you have more, then it becomes a hassle.
Yeah. And you really spoke to something. Talk about this anxiety with stuff. I mean, there are a lot of people that are going to listen to this, and I think in their hearts they know what you're talking about, because I know I do. And bro, I got a lot of stuff. I got
Yeah.
big old 6,000 square foot house, man. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But in this process of decluttering and letting go and the anxiety that you feel and then the freedom on the other side, like expand on that just a little bit for everybody.
I just find it's like Christmas, man. You buy new presents for Christmas and you give them to your kids, right? You give them 10 presents for Christmas, but in 30 minutes, they're no longer playing with them
Yeah.
presents. So what do? Now it's you buy a toy hutch. So now you have a toy hutch with 100 toys in it, and then they get 10 more presents. And the next thing you know, like all your cabinets are full, your closet's full, but you still have nothing to wear. And you got 10 pairs of shoes, but none of them match. And so it's a nonstop, like they call it keeping up with the Joneses, but it's not. It's that like, well, I need something new, because that something new makes you feel good for about 7 seconds, or while you wore it, or while you ate it, or while you had it out, or whatever. But then after that, you have that guilt, like, but I have 30 pairs of shoes, or I have 11 shirts, or I have 2,700 books. And on top of that, you then have possibly payments for the 3 cars that you have in the garage, and the 2 Harley Davidsons, and the 4 4-wheelers. And we got a swimming pool last year, and that's on credit. And so all these things that you end up owning you. And it's like, I have to go to work today because I have to pay these bills. And so all this stuff that I've now accumulated has really just made me a hostage inside of my own home. So as you start to get rid of debt, anger, anxiety, stuff, it's like that freeing of your spirit, of your soul. It's like, I don't need all this stuff. I've just wanted it because I've been trying to fill a void inside that I don't know how to fill. And so it comes out in food, drugs, sex, money, pornography, tables, books, furniture, shoes. Like the list goes on and on. But that's, as individuals, that's how we go, and that's why our houses fill up. But that's also why we're depressed, miserable, anxious, all these things, because we don't ever stop to actually look and see why the void is there and what we could do to fill it. We just buy another picture for the wall.
You know, we were also talking backstage, Dustin. That's it right there. What you just said. You when you get a chance, you go back and listen to you talk, because everything we were talking about purpose wise, that's the message. That's it. And you're actually doing it. Yeah. See, that's the difference. You can actually teach people that. Yeah. So you all are getting ready to do this again. Yeah. Where are you going?
I think I'm going to spend this. I'm either going to spend the winter in Vegas, or outside of Vegas again, or outside of Tucson. It's all going to depend. The guy I work with, Mark, he's about to have a baby, and we're going to support them until they're ready. But we're thinking like around Thanksgiving. But I'm trying to get to a national park that I haven't been to in Colorado yet. So it all depends. If the snow dumps, I'm going to go south and go to Tucson. If I can get to the national park, I'll go north and go outside of Vegas, like where we were when the virus hit.
And so, but no snow dumps outside of Vegas. That's desert.
No. So wintertime there.
You're just trying to get through the snow, you mean? Colorado and all that. Okay.
Yeah. Wintertime in Vegas, like 75, 80 during the day, 60 during the night. Yeah, so I just like Arizona and Nevada are the same. I just need to be in that weather. Like we have heaters, we have air conditioners, but it's like I don't want to have to use any of that stuff. We're, like I said, we're completely off grid, solar. I don't need anything from anybody. So we just find the desert and set up camp, man.
And are you going to keep computers going and stuff like that, or do you go into town when you need to?
No,
or how does
so
that work?
like we've got hotspots. I got more gigs than Verizon probably even allows. Like it's amazing how much gigs we use when we're on the road. But yeah, we'll absolutely, we'll be on computer all the time. We're always active, or a day from being, sometimes we find a spot that doesn't got nothing, but we're usually in a place where we can use phones and computers.
Well, please keep posting about this on social media. I mean, I'm connected to you, so I see everything you post, but dude, let everybody know what you're doing, because I really, really believe in this fast-paced hustle and bustle, technologically driven, accumulation of stuff driven world that we live in. It's been that way forever, but it's only continuing to go that way. It's a really refreshing message. And it's even more refreshing to see someone who is alive that's living it.
Yeah.
I can read the Jack Kerouac books. I can read the Emerson books. I can certainly relate to them, and Robert Frost and all these people. But to no one, to be able to touch you, to be able to ask you a question, be able to hear it come out of your mouth. And here's what's beautiful. A lot of people that have chosen to live that lifestyle do it because they have to.
Yeah.
They don't choose it. And in the process, a little bit of poo-poo gets put into the brownie mix because they're not willing to share that part of it, that actually they want the accumulation of stuff, but actually they're shrinking from themselves to do it. You're truly someone that goes, hey, stuff ain't my master.
Yeah.
And I really believe that people would do well to reach out to you, to have conversations with you. And I know who you are. You're willing to talk to a stump if the stump wants to pay attention for a while. You're just an awesome dude, man.
I've done enough drugs that stumps have talked back, man. We're good.
Yeah, you and me both, bro. I don't ever want to look like that again.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
So if people want to get in touch with you, dude, what's the easiest way for them to reach out?
I would say on Instagram, just hit me up. It's at Dustin G. Johnson. There's a famous golfer, man. His name's Dustin Johnson. How are you supposed to get ahead of that guy? But yeah,
right.
Dustin G. Johnson. No, nothing in between. And yeah, man, I'm willing to talk to anybody about anything. I'm down.
I'll make sure that we put it on the intro page for this thing too, because I want people to reach out to you, man. And Robin and I, our hearts and prayers will be with you, dude. And you know, you can always reach out to me. Like if you have a flat tire or something goes on and something freaky happens and there's any way we can help. Yeah. I got your back, bro. I mean,
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Dude, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Dude, everybody listen to me. Get this guy's book. I promise you, if you buy this book and you don't think it was worth it, ship it to me and I'll pay you $20 more than what you paid to go through all the bullshit. That's exactly, I believe in what this man wrote. I know him. I followed him. I've hung out with him. Everything that he's telling you is literally his experience with no filter on it. There's no marketing pitch behind it. There is no bullshit behind it. He's a man who's living life by his own design, and there are not enough of them in this world anymore, brother. So I appreciate you. And everybody, get this man's book, reach out to him, follow him on social media, and listen, because he's willing to drop some really insightful nuggets where he just kind of drops it in there and then moves on. He's not in it to see if he can get 800 likes, you know? So it's the real stuff. And brother, like I said, I appreciate you being here and I look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, man?
Thanks for having me on, dude. I appreciate you.
See you guys soon.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
Hey friend, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to catch future casts. If you really enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it so others can benefit from it as well. I'll see you in the trenches.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.